It's a new year, but there's nothing new about corruption in big government schemes like federally funded daycare centers and healthcare centers in Minnesota. Just wait till you see the latest there. The left trying to defend themselves, but then accidentally admits there's fraud everywhere. And the horrific death threats against citizen journalist Nick Shirley. We'll give you all of that coming up in just a second. And speaking of nothing new under the sun, Zohran Mamdani, a communist, swears to bring collectivism to New York City. Are you scared yet? You should be. Say a prayer for Nick Shirley and for the city of New York. I'm Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. And we're brought to you by The Lion today. We love The Lion, and we love you for subscribing to our channel. If this is the first time you've seen our show, give it a week. You'll be addicted, just like everyone joining us for our live chat every day, usually at noon, but today we're a little early. Why not? It's a new year. It's holidays. It's fantastic. Like this video and subscribe to this entire channel so you don't miss a thing, because we need each other coming up in 2026. And if you care about staying sharp and informed, you want to make The Lion part of your daily routine. It's published by the Herzog Foundation. The Lion covers the headlines that matter, from politics and policy to culture and faith, all through a common sense, values-driven lens. It's the kind of journalism that goes beyond the surface, offering the context and clarity today's news demands. Whether you're tracking big national stories or you want to know what's happening in schools, state houses, and communities across the country, The Lion delivers smart, well-sourced reporting you're not going to find anywhere else. Visit readlion.com to catch up on the latest must-read stories and sign up for The Lion's daily and weekly newsletters. That's readlion.com, news that informs and respects your worldview. Well, as you know, the corruption in Minnesota and the daycare facilities and healthcare facilities is rampant. We've been talking about it quite a bit, and it took citizen journalist Nick Shirley to just blow this story up. By now, you have joined the over 150 million who have seen this video, where he simply goes to these daycare centers and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, are you a daycare center?" And they sure don't look like daycare centers. They sure don't look like healthcare centers either. And so the left in Minnesota, they're rallying around their corruption and their fraud. And they held a press conference, but it didn't go exactly according to plan. Watch this.
And I do see some signs over here that say stop fraud, and I agree, stop it. There are wait lists for these programs that are years long. There is fraud, and I do see.
There is fraud. There is fraud. And wait, what did I say? Oops. Dr. Freud, is there room on the sofa for her, please? Because that was quite the slip. And I love the second they speak the truth, their brain just malfunctions. There's a complete and total meltdown. She's not the only one. Watch it again.
Some signs over here that say stop fraud, and I agree, stop it. There are wait lists for these programs that are years long. There is fraud.
Oops, didn't mean to say that. Sorry, guys. And then there was this woman, of course, a member of the Somali community, who's going to get hurt the most by the billions and billions of dollars not funneling into Little Mogadishu. She also melted down and had a complete malfunction of her brain as she was reading her remarks.
If childcare is cut, I'm unable to work or go to school. I understand fraud is bad.
I do love that they applaud her. Well done. So can somebody unpack this for me, please? Because I've been told that she just got so overwhelmed with emotion and fear and anxiety that she just couldn't speak anymore. Is that what you see on her face when she's reading her remarks and says fraud is bad? And then, well, I don't know. I see something else.
If childcare is cut, I'm unable to work or go to school. I understand fraud is bad.
You see, she looks back down at her notes. looks at it again. And I don't know. Does she look sad? Does she look overcome with emotion? I don't see any tears. I do see fear, though. Is it fear of not having the childcare that she so desperately needs so that she can stay employed and that she can go to school? Is that the fear? Or is the fear that she just stood up there in front of all of these cameras publicly saying that fraud is bad? And at that moment, when her eyes bugged out and looked at the script that was handed to her, she realized that she's making a public admission that fraud is bad. And if she's participating in the fraud, well, that means that she has full awareness that she shouldn't be doing what she's doing. That could also be why she just melted down. Not sure. But the first part of what she had to say is super duper instructive here, because these white liberal women, God bless them, in Minnesota, they put her out there to speak on behalf of the downtrodden, the needy, the people who these programs are benefiting the most. And again, if you're on the left and you really do care for children and you really do care about the downtrodden, why aren't you the angriest about the fraud? Why are you instead angrier at journalists, citizen journalists, for uncovering the fraud? I think that they should be leading the charge if they really did care about the children, right? So these white liberal women, God bless them, brought out this woman to be the face, to speak on behalf of this system. And listen to the sob story she gives right before she malfunctions.
If childcare is cut, I'm unable to work or go to school.
Yeah, she's unable to work or go to school. And then something happens here. When you see the moment when she's scared and overcome with emotion, she puts her right hand up to her mouth. She changes the phone to her left hand and then puts her other hand up to her mouth. Do you see what I see? Some keen-eyed observers picked out the fact that she's wearing a freaking rock. Look at the size of that. I mean, I was doing pretty well when I proposed marriage to my wife, Meredith, but I couldn't afford that rock. Now, I'm sure it's just cubic zirconia, right? Because that's what you do. You get a big fake plastic diamond and wear it as your only piece of jewelry. I'm sure it's a cultural thing. Or, hear me out, your tax dollars paid for that rock. And it's very real. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. But that's not the strangest thing that happened in these press conferences trying to defend the indefensible.
And I request that our government supports our child care centers and stop this heinous crime and this hate that's happening around our state.
Well, we are trying to stop a crime here that's happening, but why can't she speak English? And why is she wearing a mask as if it's 2021? Am I the only one who is tired of Ilhan Omar and Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, and Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, who stand up there and tell me how America would be nothing without the Somali community, the vibrant Somali community who's come here and they become citizens and they work hard and they pay their taxes. And then they turn and show me the perfect representative of that vibrant backbone of America community, and they're still speaking Somali. They bring her out here to be the face and the voice of the community, and she needs a translator. Yeah, I don't think I'm the only one. Now, about Nick Shirley's reporting, you see, the media, as you know, have spent years ignoring this story. It wasn't until just recently when the New York Times did one article about the convictions that have already occurred up in Minnesota that we actually had some attention paid to this, mostly because shows like this amplified the story even more and started pressing the issue. Then came along Nick Shirley, citizen journalist, YouTuber for the last 2 years. He's produced a weekly show. Last week's show was about the fraud in Minnesota. And it was very simple. He found a guy who's done research up there in Minnesota. He was his wingman and rode shotgun in the car. And they went down the list of all of the public information about companies and organizations that received federal and state funding for their daycare or healthcare centers. And they just went to the address and knocked on the door and discovered that nothing was going on there. In the middle of the day, it's supposed to be a daycare. In the middle of the day, it's supposed to be a health clinic, and nothing was going on there. And yet they had over $1 million in many cases funneling through their accounts to cover all of the great vital services that they provide. That's some pretty great journalism. So what did the mainstream media do? They attacked Nick Shirley. They went after him. They called him a MAGA journalist. Why does it take a MAGA journalist to do this kind of thing? Why don't all journalists want to do this kind of thing? I assure you, for pregnancy crisis centers where nonprofit organizations give an opportunity for pregnant women who are desperate and terrified a place to actually keep their baby, exercise one of those choices, which ends up actually with a live human being at the end of 9 months. I'm sure that they would love to go after those organizations and try to find out if anything fraudulent's going on there, but there's not. Well, CNN did what all journalists need to do in this case. They investigated the investigator. That's right. They were sure that Nick Shirley is the problem here, that Nick Shirley is the corrupt one, that Nick Shirley needs to be exposed. So this intrepid little reporter decided to call the daycare centers and ask them if they were frauds. What do you think they said?
CNN is looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
We reached out to several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said they are a legitimate business.
Have you seen the videos, purporting that some of these daycares don't have kids inside?
Minnesota Republicans say despite the new focus from the Trump administration, they have been sounding the alarm on fraud for years.
Yes, they have, and it's fallen on deaf ears, and they've been called racist for doing so. And the media up in Minnesota, for the most part, have chimed along. But did you catch exactly what happened there with the reporter? They decided to look into the claims.
CNN is looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
We reached out to...
Okay, so a couple of things here. First of all, why not do what Nick Shirley did and actually go to their offices and knock on the door and see if, I don't know, they spelled learning right on the sign? No, she's sitting there in a, I think that's a hotel room. Let's call it a Courtyard by Marriott Bonvoy. She's sitting there in a hotel room using a speakerphone to call these places. And what happens when she calls?
Several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said
Only one daycare facility answered. Now, isn't that kind of a story? We called all of these very legitimate businesses who have gotten millions upon millions of dollars of taxpayer funding to provide daycare services, but only one of them answered. But they just gloss right over that. Shouldn't there be somebody there to pick up the phone with the millions of dollars they've been getting of your tax dollars? And the one person, the one organization that did pick up the phone?
only one daycare facility answered and said they are a legitimate business.
They said they were a legitimate business. What more do you want from us? We called. We did due diligence. They said they weren't breaking the law. So journalisming done. Joe Biden said he was healthy and cognitive. That Karine Jean-Pierre said he was sharp as a tack. What more do you want from us? That's what they told us. Journalisming done. What frauds they are. What absolute frauds. I told you last week when we talked about this story, just before Christmas, that you need to keep Nick Shirley in your prayers. I told you that Nick Shirley is going to be under fire, that they're going to lie about this man. They're going to say horrible things about him. Did I tell you this, or did I tell the Mark Levin audience? It's all blending together in my mind now. The point is, you've got to say a prayer for Nick Shirley. because they're going to come after him because he did what you're not supposed to do. Number one, he exposed fraud in the Democrat, socialist, Marxist, minority group, refugee, illegal immigrant complex that constantly funds money to people that shouldn't even be here in the first place. And then those groups fund the money back to candidates and super PACs that keep Democrats in office so they can keep funneling the money to the groups that cater to the illegal immigrants. He exposed them. But even worse, he did the cardinal sin. He made journalists with journalism degrees who work for corporate journalism endeavors with huge paychecks. He made them look stupid. He made them look inept. He exposed them for the frauds that they are. And because of that, he's getting death threats.
Have you gotten any threats? Like
Yeah,
actual
lots.
death threats?
Yeah, well, in person and also
Can you tell me about that? Like, are they
Well,
messaging you saying, we're going to get you? What are they saying to you?
yeah, like they're saying, oh, like kirked. You're gonna be kirked.
You're going to be kirked. That's what they're saying to
Yeah,
you.
like you're the next.
Bunch of
You'll be the next
dirtbags.
Kirk. And it's just like, are you kidding me? 'Cause it's not even like I hate what's happening right now. Like I feel bad for my family, honestly, because it's like, yeah, like we didn't do anything wrong, and yet you guys are coming after me like I'm some sort of villain, right? So I'm like, my little sister's getting phone calls. I'm like, why are you guys doing this?
Your little sister's getting phone calls.
Yeah, from like the news. I'm like, okay, don't talk to my family. I mean, some news in India, they doxed my home, they doxed my dad, it was really weird. I haven't even told my dad about that because I just don't want to even bother him about it.
Well, Dad, you know now.
But like they put it, like it's just like, are you guys kidding me? Like, why are you guys coming after somebody for going against fraud? Like I didn't make this a right or left issue. I just showed you guys that fraud was happening, and now you guys are coming after me. You're saying, "Yo, I'll be the next Kirk." You're literally stopping at intersections and coming after me and trying to attack me. Like what? Why are you so evil? Like what's wrong with you? Like what? Why are you defending fraud? Do you like money being stolen? No. And what are you doing? You're a racist. No, I'm not a racist. I'm just telling you what the facts are. You guys are stealing money from the people that are working hard here inside the United States. I was literally talking to a black man, and then the Somali man comes out, and he's also black. So I can't understand what they're thinking, calling me a racist. I'm having a great conversation with a black man, and then another black man comes up, and he's Somali descent, and he comes and attacks me for being a racist. I'm like, no, I'm not a racist. It's so stupid. And that's why the fraud has been able to happen for so long, because people like Tim Walz are afraid to be called racist. And me and my generation, we're over it. Like, we don't care.
Oh, I love that, buddy.
Like, we do not care.
love
Call us a
that.
racist. I do not care because I am not a racist. We're just seeing that prices of homes are so expensive. I don't even have a friend that can afford a home. People aren't getting married because of how expensive things are. And we're paying so much money in taxes. Most kids are, I'm lucky because I didn't go to college, but most kids are starting their life off behind the starting line. They're thousands of dollars in the debt. And so, yes, we're upset because you guys are stealing millions of dollars and getting rich. And then you're bragging about the white man working on TikTok. Who's actually the racist? You're the racist. You're the one saying the white man, you work white woman, you work white man. We're sick of it. Nobody cares. Like, stop committing fraud. If you're going to be here, be happy to be here and work hard like we're working hard. Whether you're black, Mexican, Asian, white, just go and work. And don't start playing this victim card and start trying to make things political about money, for instance, or don't get mad at people for making money. Like, that's why America is the greatest country in the world, is because of capitalism. And we had 250 years to do it. All these other countries had thousands of years to do it, but they didn't do it. That's why we have to protect what's ours.
Yeah, and I just want to go back right at the beginning here, if you don't mind. It's great stuff, and Nick is absolutely 100% right about that. But again, listen about the death threats and the doxing of his family.
Threats. Like
Yeah,
actual
lots.
death threats.
Yeah, well, in person and also,
Can you tell me
Online.
about that? Like, are they
Well,
messaging you saying, we're going to get you? What are they saying to you?
yeah, like they're saying, oh, like kirked. You're going to be kirked.
You're going to be kirked. That's what they're saying to
Yeah,
you.
like you're the next.
Bunch of
You'll be the next
dirtbags.
Kirk. And it's just like, are you kidding me? 'Cause it's not even like I hate what's happening right now. Like, I feel bad for my family, honestly, because
Yeah, you're going to be the next Kirk. We're going to Kirk you, they said. And by the way, a little bit later, Nick shared one of the death threats that he got in a DM. Take a look at it. It shows a picture. I believe it's somebody killed at the hands of Mao Zedong's Communist Party during that revolution. Not unlike the revolution we're seeing right now. It's just not bloody yet. It says this is going to be you on April 27th, 2026 in a muddy ditch alongside the highway. Enjoy your last months of buddy. That's just one example. And Nick shared that himself and said, it's not a joke. They actually want to kill me. In all seriousness, please include me in your prayers. And I implore you to do the same. You know, Nick was just talking about how his generation has had it. They're done with it. They're sick. Call us racist. Doesn't matter. But we're sick and tired of working our asses off, paying our taxes, playing by the rules, being law-abiding, and then not even being able to start a family or own a home. This is a serious crisis. And it's what this scandal in Minnesota is really all about. Batya Ungar-Sargon actually summarized it beautifully on her News Nation show. And I want to share that with you because she said it better than I could.
This scandal is totally appalling, but it is also unsurprising. And that's because it's a microcosm of what ails the Democratic elites. That's our Why It Matters segment for the night. The latest revelations join others in which suspected Somali fraudsters stole more than $9 billion in federal funds from 14 state-run agencies dating back to 2018. Somali Americans make up 89% of the defendants charged. The absolute scale of the fraud just beggars belief. Where were the spot checks? Where were the officials? It seems totally impossible that the Democratic leadership was not somehow in on this. Just think about how outrageous this is. You are wondering whether you can afford to have another child because childcare is so expensive. Meanwhile, a group of Somalis in Minnesota got $110 million for childcare centers that don't exist. You can't afford to buy a home, but 100 Somalis spent millions on luxury properties, millions of your taxpayer dollars. You're paying $30,000 a year for terrible health care, and they got millions for healthcare centers that they never opened for patients that they never serviced. But the fraud is a microcosm of an illness that plagues our political elites, especially on the left. More broadly, everybody comes before you. For decades, the Democrats have pushed for mass migration, both legal and illegal, which drove down the wages of working class Americans while making competition for housing, healthcare, and an education, the hallmarks of the American dream, even fiercer. And if you objected, if you had the audacity to ask why your children were being disinherited in your country, the Democratic elites called you racist. Leftist American elites developed an entire woke vocabulary as a smokescreen to mask the mass pillaging of the American working class. They smeared hardworking people who work 10 times harder than they do, by the way, and make a fraction as much. When those working class Americans objected to having their jobs sent overseas and those jobs that remained here degraded by a glut of cheap labor. Millionaires on cable news called you racist if you said, wait a minute, why don't my kids matter? That's why people are so angry about the Somali fraud case. It is the epitome of the fraud perpetrated on the American people through the collusion of the Democratic Party, the liberal media, and people willing to take advantage of the immense generosity of the American people and then spit in our faces.
Amen, sister. Batya, like I said it better than I could, although I feel like I have said something very similar quite often in the past couple of weeks. You know, Batya used to be a liberal about 10 years ago, but then she got red-pilled. Her eyes were open, and she saw what was really happening here, and she speaks for tens of millions. Meanwhile, back to the death threats, Nick Shirley isn't the only one who's having his life threatened. Over there on TikTok, you've got Somalis threatening Elon Musk.
When people say like this is fake, I'm like, actually, well, let's look at
kan muxuu haystaa lacag bis u haystaa baduu fool xun yahay iska fool xun yahay kan waa duq uu dhiman rabaa. I wouldn't worry too much about this one. That albaabkiisa jooga. I wouldn't worry too much about him. He about to die.
In between that and Somali, you heard her say, I wouldn't worry too much about him, meaning Elon Musk. He's about to die. Really delightful people, aren't they? Listen, there's not all bad news going on with regard to this story. If I could bring to your attention something remarkable that happened over on News Nation, something extraordinary, something unprecedented, something you never see at all in corporate-owned journalistic endeavors. News Nation actually reported on the real story. They did some great work. In short, they did exactly what Nick Shirley did.
This building right behind me has 22 different home and community-based healthcare companies registered in the building. It's only 4 floors. I walked in there yesterday trying to find a number of them. Many of them are they appear to be just window fronts, door fronts with nobody behind. So same story, different location. We're here in St. Paul at this building, which looks like a warehouse or a dilapidated old building. Inside this building, there are 60 registered home and community healthcare organizations inside this one building. We're here in Northeast Minneapolis, and we're at a building that I believe is on the radar of authorities. They have questions about it. A lot of the businesses in here are home healthcare businesses. Of the total businesses, there's 37. 17 of them are home healthcare businesses. There's just layer upon layer upon layer of fraud throughout this city, Jessica. As for whether Governor Walz is going to testify before the Oversight Committee, that remains to be seen. We asked him, his office, if he was going to testify, and we have yet to hear back.
Now, was that so hard to actually do a little bit of journalism? Nick Shirley has shown you the way, and he just had a GoPro camera and a Rode microphone. You've got a better budget than that. So get it done, but they won't. Because, as Andrew Breitbart used to call it, it's the Democrat media complex. The media is there to service the Democrats and vice versa. And they're going to keep circling the wagons and protecting their own. And meanwhile, you work your ass off, you pay your taxes, you follow the law, and you can't get ahead. You have to debate whether you can afford to have another child. You have to debate whether you can relocate or take a different job because of the costs involved. And now you've got people who have come to this country, many of them illegally, bilking the system and stealing your money. And then the Democrats in Washington, D.C., they claim that healthcare is too expensive, and that's why we need more subsidies. And where do those subsidies go? To the fraudulent storefronts that aren't actually doing anything. No wonder everything costs so much. No wonder we have an affordability crisis. The Democrats continue to protect the fraud. And Republicans are making a lot of noise about oversight committee hearings, and the DOJ and the FBI say that they're on the ground in Minneapolis and arrests are coming. We'll see. We'll see. But in the meantime, it's clear who in Washington, D.C. and which political party and, well, what type of journalists right now in this country. It's clear whose side they're on. And it's also clear whose side is on your side. If you care about coming up, Zohran Mamdani sworn in on a Quran, and you'll never guess who swore him in. You can't make this up. We'll get to that in a second. But if you care about the direction of this country, you need to be reading The Lion. It's published by the Herzog Foundation, the national leader in Christian education. The Lion is an award-winning news site delivering sharp, timely reporting on what's really happening in America's schools, culture, and government. It's the kind of journalism that cuts through the noise and gives you the full picture, especially when it comes to the growing movement toward Christ-centered education. But The Lion goes beyond classrooms. It covers parenting, faith, freedom, and the cultural battles shaping our future. Just like its namesake, The Lion embodies strength and courage, standing firm in a landscape where too many have surrendered our children's future to the left's ideology. Visit readlion.com, sign up for the daily or weekly newsletter so you never miss a headline. That's readlion.com. Clarity, courage, and news that keeps you informed and equipped. Yesterday, Zohran Mamdani, the communist, was sworn in as the mayor of New York City. And during his inauguration speech, he said something that didn't quite sound right. Take a listen.
I welcome the change. For too long, those fluent in the good grammar of civility have deployed decorum to mask agendas of cruelty. Many of these people have been betrayed by the established order. But in our administration, their needs will be met. Their hopes and dreams and interests will be reflected transparently in government. They will shape our future. And if for too long these communities have existed as distinct from one another, we will draw this city closer together. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism. If our campaign demonstrated that the people of New York yearn for solidarity, then let this government foster it. Because no matter what you eat, how you pray, or where you come from, the words that most define us are the two we all share: New Yorkers.
As usual, when a totalitarian authoritarian gives a speech that rips at the very fabric of our nation's founding, the thing that frightens me the most is the cheers and applause that go along with it. Yeah, the two things that we have in common: New Yorkers. That's what we are. We're all New Yorkers. Those are the two words we have in common. Forget about the fact that the majority of New Yorkers who voted for him have only been New Yorkers for, 7 years or less? That's fine. We're all New Yorkers now. Did you catch the one phrase there that's getting everybody's attention, though? It's not about the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's not about all men are created equal. It's not about we the people. It's not about any of those things. No. Those are American ideals of freedom and liberty and personal private property rights, et cetera, all the things that our nation was founded on. The reason that we've been prosperous for 250 years, all those freedoms and the free market economy that goes along with it. No. He said this again.
We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism.
The warmth of collectivism. How warm is it when you're standing outside in a line in the dead of winter trying to get a roll of toilet paper because of collectivism? I guess there is a warm feeling when you feel the trickle of blood down your body after you've been shot in the head by the totalitarian military because you dared to break away from the collective. Nice warm feeling there. It amazes me that people who come in with their collectivism ideals and their Marxism to try to give free everything to everyone, and they never stop and realize that the reason there's any money to be had for all of those free things that they're going to give away is there because of rugged individualism. Every single billionaire that he wants to tax got their billions because of rugged individualism. There would be no money for them to take and confiscate and redistribute on their whim if it weren't for rugged individualism, but he wants to do away with that. He wants to do away with it because he wants to embrace the warmth of collectivism. That's New York for you. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And if you can't make it there, don't worry about it because the collective will help. Because we'll confiscate the money of other people who have made it here. See, that lyric doesn't go as well, does it? Bernie Sanders, the grandfather of Marxism in America, he spoke at the inauguration, and he had this brilliant insight into grocery stores and how we need the government to take them over.
Making sure that every family in the city, regardless of income, has access to decent quality food at an affordable cost is not radical. Good nutrition keeps us healthy, helps prevent chronic illnesses. In the long run, city-sponsored grocery stores will save society money.
Okay, brilliant. Gosh, why didn't anybody ever think of this before? have the government take over the means of production for food and the means of delivering that food to the people. And that will actually save the society in the long run, because finally the people will be eating all the good, nutritious, quality food that the government has produced and now delivered to them. Brilliant. You might want to look into Stalin's 7-year plan. Not the first one. That resulted in starvation and fasting and horrible, really mass murder at the hands of the state. No, look at the second 7-year plan when they fixed it all. And that actually, the same thing happened with that plan too. Okay, don't look at the Soviets because they were corrupt over there. And that wasn't really a great expression and example of socialism in its purest form. Let's look at Mao's China. Yeah, no. See, because Mao's China, that was a communist revolution that was led by the agricultural sector. Unlike in the Soviet Union, when it was the manufacturing base, they were still poisoned, sadly, by the Industrial Revolution and the capitalist mindset that had corrupted them, even in the pure Soviet Union. But over in Mao's China, see, that wasn't the industrial mindset here. That was agriculture, all about the means of production for food and feeding the starving masses that were left behind by the corrupt oligarchies. Look what happened in Mao's China when his government took over the means of production and distribution of food to the people. There, tens of millions died. Maybe even up to 100 million. Yeah, but they still had the right ideas. That's all that matters. On paper, it works great. And see, here in this country, we've been facing starvation deaths for our entire existence. People starve to death. It's so horrible because agriculture and grocery stores, it's all part of the oligarchy. It's all part of the free market capitalist system that is more than happy to have people starve to death, right? Oh, no, wait a minute. We don't have a starvation problem here in America, do we? In fact, we have the opposite. We eat too much. We're fat. We're overweight because we have an abundance of food in our country. Well, let's break down what Bernie had to say here, because there's one slight problem with his strategy.
Making sure that every family in the city, regardless of income, has access to decent, quality food at an affordable cost is not radical.
It is radical, and understand what he's saying here. He says that if the government takes over the grocery stores, that will ensure that the people of New York are getting good, quality, nutritious food, unlike what they're getting right now from the grocery stores in New York. What's ironic about this is when Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. proposed the idea that if you're getting federal benefits through the SNAP program right now to subsidize your food budget, well, you should only be using those subsidies from the federal government on good, healthy, nutritious food like fruits and vegetables and good proteins, and not ultra-processed crap in the, chips and dips aisle or the boxed cereal aisle. When Kennedy proposed that federal government money that goes to help people feed themselves every month only assigned to good, healthy, nutritious food, it's this guy and his party that stood in the way of that. No. You cannot tell people what they can eat and what they can't eat. You just need to give them the EBT card and let them spend it on whatever they want, whether it's Burger King or whether it's at the liquor store. Who are you to tell them? You give them their money and let them buy whatever they want. Oh, but as soon as they want to take over the grocery stores, it's being sold to you that they're going to ensure everybody's getting good, nutritious food. Sure. I believe them. Don't you? Mamdani, though, had very soaring rhetoric, and it's beautiful. It's poetic. It's Obama-esque. You see, when a totalitarian takes over and takes away all of your freedoms and all of your rights of ownership and the pursuit of happiness and all of the things that our nation was built on, they never actually give speeches saying, we're going to take away all your rights and we're going to control everything and you'll get what we tell you can get because we know better. See, they never say that. They say things like this.
Here, where the language of the New Deal was born, we will return the vast resources of this city to the workers who call it home. Not only will we make it possible for every New Yorker to afford a life they love once again, we will overcome the isolation that too many feel and connect the people of this city to one another. The cost of childcare will no longer discourage young adults from starting a family, because we will deliver universal childcare for the many by taxing the wealthiest few.
Again, the roar of the crowd is terrifying. So he claims that you're not having children, you there in New York City, because of the cost of daycare. And the way to remedy that is to provide free daycare for everyone, and we'll pay for it by confiscating money from the wealthiest here, which, by the way, when they move, where's that money going to come from? Number one. And number two, you always set up the boogeyman, the evil monster that's making it so expensive for you to even procreate and have children. And so it's got to be the billionaires. And of course, they cheer at that idea. That maybe it's me, but I think the American dream goes well beyond someone like Zohran Mamdani flying in here and setting up shop from Uganda and deciding to win an election against a horrible candidate in Andrew Cuomo, and then deciding it's time to confiscate the wealth of the people who have actually made it, through their rugged individualism, take their money and then redistribute it based on how he knows best, so that both the mother and the father in the home in New York City can go to work and hand their child over to either the state or to a daycare center funded by the state. Yeah, that's not what I think the dream should be. Maybe it's me, but if you're a young couple and you want to have children, maybe the ideal scenario is that you can raise your own kids in your own house without handing them over to a government-funded stranger. You should be able to make enough money and make your payments in such a way where you don't have to rely on two incomes if you choose not to. What's wrong with having one of the parents stay home and raise those children? No, they'll never say that, will they? And yes, I know New York City is very expensive. Guess what? That's not a new occurrence. I used to live in New York. I used to live in New York in the early 90s. That was 30 years ago. And when I wanted to get married and start a family, guess what I did? I moved out of New York. I moved to a place where I could afford it. Why do you think New York has all of those trains and all of those buses and all of those cars of people commuting into Manhattan from other places? Like, Westchester County and Yonkers and Long Island and New Jersey. Why do they choose to live there and then come into New York to work? Because it's cheaper to live out there. I always used to tell people that New York is great if you're dirt poor or if you're really wealthy. But if you want to be middle class in New York, it's not that easy. But the solution is to not take all the money from the rich people and have this guy tell you that you're getting something free, because it is not free health care. Are the people who are working at the the daycare center, are the people who work there looking after your kids so that you can go and grind it out at work 9 to 5 and drive yourself insane so you can make just enough money to pay over half of it to the taxes of New York City, New York State, and the federal government? Are those people working at the daycare center watching your child, wiping your child's behind, teaching your child to read? You're a mother and a father. Don't you want to do that? Do you think those people working at that daycare center are doing it for free? Of course not. They're getting paid. All the facilities have to pay rent, so there's money. Inside the facilities, you've got little desks and chairs and toys and little books and little mats for the kids to sleep on so they can learn about how great Mao and Stalin were. That all costs money. It's not free. Do you think the buses that he's providing for free are actually free? No, you're paying the bus driver. You're paying for the gas. You're paying for the bus. You're paying for the maintenance on the bus. You're paying for all the advertising to tell you how great the free buses are. None of it is free. And the only way you have the money to actually pay for these things is because of the actual rugged individualism of those people who have made money. He said that it's time for New Yorkers to be able to have access to the great resources of that city. I lived in New York. There are no resources there. There's no coal or copper or oil. There's no agriculture. No, when he says resources, he means money. And it's not like money is just lying there. Money is literally made by people. You make money and you work your ass off to do it. And as finally you succeed and you say, oh, okay, I went out and lived in the suburbs and I worked my ass off and now I've made a bunch of money and now I want to send my kids to college and now I want to have a nice apartment in New York City because I can finally afford to live there again. And this a-hole wants to take all your money away. And as Margaret Thatcher says, at some point, he's going to run out of other people's money. Because funny thing about being mayor of New York and have these ideas and programs and plans versus being dictator of the entire nation, you can move. You can move really easily. You're a billionaire and he's about to take all your money to help pay for all these stupid ideas he's got. Pretty easy to move. And you'll be super happy doing it. And do you think they're going to then shut down the programs? Well, we can't afford it because the billionaires have moved. No, then it moves to the millionaires. And then it moves to people making, $200,000, $300,000 a year. Then it moves to people making $100,000 a year. And either way, no matter how much you're making, it's your money. Imagine if you could just keep it and then raise your children yourself. And wipe your children's butt yourself instead of a stranger doing it. And teach your child to read instead of some stranger doing it. Because you're more than a cog in the machine. You're a human being. But every plan they have here is set up so that you are free to go work. And work. And work. And let them confiscate over half of your money.
Those in rent-stabilized homes will no longer dread the latest rent hike because we will freeze the rent. Getting on a bus without worrying about a fare hike or whether you'll be able to get to your destination on time will no longer be deemed a small miracle because we will make those buses fast and free. These policies are not simply about the costs we make free, but the lives we fill with freedom. For too long in our city, freedom has belonged only to those who can afford to buy it. Our city hall will change that. These promises carried our movement to City Hall, and they will carry us from the rallying cries of a campaign to the realities of a new era in politics.
Yeah, terrifying and also noteworthy that this guy's the star of the Democrat Party. Not one Democrat is willing to speak out against what he's doing here. Not one Democrat has the courage to actually say, no, that's not us. You remember about 10 years back when Bernie Sanders was vying for the Democrat nomination against Hillary Clinton, Debbie Wasserman Schultz was the chairman of the Democratic National Committee at the time. She was on with Chris Matthews, hardball with Chris Matthews. And Chris Matthews asked a question, what's the difference between a Democrat and a Democrat socialist? And she was frozen. I mean, she's always got that possum caught in the headlights look to her, that Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But there, she was really stunned. She was terrified. She either couldn't answer or she refused to answer lest she offend the communists who are really the growing base of her party. And the fact of the matter is there is no difference anymore, even if there used to be a distinction. No. This is your Democrat Party. They're socialists. And every single Democrat running for office this midterm in 2026, they're all going to adopt his ideas and his language. But at least we're clear on who we are and what the difference is between the two parties. I always love my Republican and conservative friends who get cynical and downtrodden about the Republicans in Washington, and I understand why they are. And then they say, well, there's not a dime's worth of difference between the two parties. Listen, they're both pretty inept. And I'm not a fan of Republicans, especially when they don't do what they tell us they were going to do. But trust me, there is more than a dime's worth of difference between these two parties. I keep saying authoritarian, totalitarian. I raise the specter of fascists like Mao Zedong. and Joseph Stalin. But at his inauguration address, when he was soaking up the adoration of the crowd, well, he evoked a different totalitarian fascist. You see what I see, right? Now, let's play all the clips from CBS and NBC and ABC and CNN and MSN Now and all the other networks that covered this outrageous Nazi salute and how chilling it is that he did this gesture. Yeah, I don't have any clips from those networks. They didn't say anything about it. They didn't notice it, seemingly. It's weird, though, because when Elon Musk did the exact same thing during the inauguration of Donald Trump, I tend to recall some news stories about it, don't you? And if you're saying, hey, it's totally different. Well, okay, you be the judge. I don't think it's very different. In fact, I think it's exactly the same. The only difference is the guy on top has a D after his name, although it really should be an M or a C. Did you notice this about the inauguration stage? Take a look at it. What's missing? You see it, right? Or should I say you don't see it? Where's the American flag? We have a flag of the state of New York. We have a flag of the city of New York. And what are the other? Are those the boroughs? No, maybe those are the boroughs of New York City. But you certainly don't see an American flag anywhere. And I mean anywhere. I mean, maybe at the very tip top of City Hall. Isn't that strange? Add to the fact that in his speech, he didn't once thank this country. He didn't acknowledge it. In fact, when he was elected on election night, he actually mentioned a whole lot of other countries around the world, but never mentioned America. It's almost like he's not really part of this country and our national story. And culturally, he's a little different too. Not only did Bernie Sanders swear him in, but the book he's resting his hand on, it's the Quran.
I, Zohran Mamdani, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and the Charter of the City of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the Mayor of the City of New York, according to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Yeah, and there goes New York City. Now, listen, there's certainly nothing wrong with being Muslim. Don't get me wrong. And there's nothing wrong, I suppose, if you're Muslim to choose to use the Quran for your swearing in. But, I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong here. I've done some research. Isn't there a thing within the Quran and within Muslim culture called taqiyya, where it's okay to lie to your enemies if it means securing a victory? Yeah, I think that's a thing. Look it up. So in other words, if you're swearing to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of New York and the city charter of New York City, and you're swearing on the Quran literally dictates to you that it's okay to deceive. And as long as it provides victory in the end. Again, if I'm wrong, please let me know. I'm sure YouTube will flag it and correct me if I am wrong, won't they? I'm sure they will. Again, it's weird to me. Isn't it weird that less than 25 years after the 9/11 attacks, in the shadow, or what would be the shadows of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, the new mayor is standing there getting sworn in on a Quran, not just any Quran, by the way. One of them is an 18th century Quran. The other one was the Quran that belonged to his grandfather. Isn't it also weird that this guy, the first Muslim mayor of New York, who is sworn in on his holy book, the Quran, also supports abortion on demand and promises to expand abortion in New York City? He supports every LGBTQ policy initiative, including robust transgender procedures in New York that he'll take the tax dollars of observant Jews and Christians to pay for. I mean, all of these things are counter to what Islam teaches. It's counter to what is demanded in that book that he just swore himself into. Maybe it's possible that he's not really a believing Muslim, but like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and other radical left-wing socialist Democrats in America, they use their cultural alliance with Islam to shield themselves and protect themselves from any criticism. You see it all the time. You see, they embrace policies that have nothing to do with the teaching or dictates of the Muslim religion. And then whenever you criticize them or oppose them or robustly debate their ideas and their positions, what's the first thing they do? They accuse you of being an Islamophobe. Oh, you just hate him because he's Muslim. You just hate Ilhan Omar because she wears a hijab. You just hate them because you're an Islamophobe. No, actually, I'm not an Islamophobe. And by the way, you're not Islamic because you run counter to the basic teachings of the faith. Please explain to me how that Quran you just swore yourself into embraces all the LGBTQ agenda. But he's never asked that question, is he? Almost like there's a double standard there, because I assure you, whenever a Christian who is a believing Christian promotes their positions on the border and immigration, you'll have people all across the media and Democrats saying, oh, but Jesus said you should be kind to the stranger in your midst. And that's in Leviticus too. You're supposed to be kind of, right? They quote the Bible to you the second they think they've caught you in some hypocrisy. Why don't they quote the Quran back to a Muslim politician when he wraps himself in his faith? Why don't they do that? Well, maybe they're terrified, not of becoming called an Islamophobe. No. They're just literally terrified of his positions because, as you know, he's had some pretty salty things to say about the Jewish population. He wants to globalize the Intifada. He equivocated the violence of October 7th, and he's embraced radical Islamic activists who are now part of his administration. But he wanted to assure everybody after his election that he will bend over backwards to protect the Jewish community, that there will be no anti-Semitism tolerated in a Mamdani administration. And if you believe that, then you'll have to explain something to me, because apparently one of his priorities right after he got sworn in was to delete some old tweets. See how there were tweets deleted there? Now, this last one didn't get deleted. And as you can see from this Rabbi Samuel Stern, he says, you forgot to delete this one too. The one that he forgot to delete says the administration put the tools into place to protect Jewish New Yorkers and fight hate. We're calling on every elected official to do the same. Well, that's nice. But what did he delete? He deleted these two tweets. New York City isn't just about the rise of it in anti-Semitism. We've taken action. Today we released the first ever municipal... Today we released the first ever municipal report on our efforts to combat anti-Semitism. It's bold, it's detailed, and it's a blueprint for 2026. And we created the mayor's office to combat anti-Semitism, to make fighting hate a policy priority. This report shows that what that means in practice and how cities anywhere can follow suit. He deleted those tweets. He deleted the tweets announcing his initiative on anti-Semitism. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. I'm sure that there's a great explanation for it. I'm sure that there's nothing to fear. I'm sure of it. Yeah, I'm sure of it. It's fine. If you care about staying sharp and informed, make The Lion part of your daily routine. Published by the Herzog Foundation, The Lion covers the headlines that matter, from politics and policy to culture and faith, all through a common sense, values-driven lens. It's the kind of journalism that goes beyond the surface, offering the content and clarity today's news demands. Whether you're tracking big national stories or you want to know what's happening in schools, state houses, and communities across the country, The Lion delivers smart, well-sourced reporting you're not going to find anywhere else. Visit readlion.com, catch up on the latest must-read stories, and while you're there, sign up for The Lion's daily and weekly newsletters. That's readlion.com, news that informs and respects your worldview. And that is a wrap for today's show, the first show of 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. We missed you earlier in the week. Don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a damn thing, because we've got an election coming up this year, and Lord knows between now and Election Day in November, this is going to be exactly where you want to show up every single day for our live stream at noon, or watch us after the fact, and share this video with your friends. It's great to see all the chat here. Live here. I missed you the last few days. I'm sorry that we couldn't ring in the new year together, but we're back and full steam ahead. I don't think we've got a day off scheduled now until maybe July 4th. I don't know. I'll have to check with the boss. And you know who that is, Kevin. How about those super chats? £2 from Psychological Projectionist. You run a legit daycare when you can zero your costs? Whoa, why run a legit daycare when you can zero your costs? Yeah, exactly. You can make all the money without actually doing anything. It's quite a racket. Lady Cop 122. Thanks, Lady Cop. I do like a woman in uniform, with a $5 super chat. I appreciate it. Happy New Year. Wow, look at that $20 from Country Dancer Brad. Wait until these centralized programs get attached to a digital ID, and then they can control every aspect of your life. If you do not comply with those in power, it'll be the death of our republic. We cannot let this happen. Yeah, if you don't see Zohran Mamdani as the canary in a coal mine, you ain't paying attention. That's why you want to keep coming here. Thank you for that very generous super chat, Country Dancer Brad. Lady Cop with a $5 super chat coming back here. I was a working single mother during the 70s recession. I worked and paid my bills too. Yeah, exactly. That's this whole affordability crap. The government has made things unaffordable, and now their solution is to raise taxes to provide you with all these free things that aren't really free, and that's going to make things more affordable. It's impossible. There's two things the government can do to make things more affordable: cut my taxes and cut regulation, because those are the two things the government does that makes things unaffordable. Psychological Projectionist with a £5 super chat. In 1773, the spark of independence was the idea of being taxed without the chance of benefiting from its spending. For some New Yorkers, that is now. That's right. Yeah, you're either going to have another Boston Tea Party in New York, or you're going to have a mass exodus. Kevin Shanholzer with a $10 super chat. And notice that behind Zohran, there were 5 flags. None were the U.S. flag. Kevin, you were way ahead of us with that one. That's right. Isn't that amazing? I want to go look at that, because one of those is the flag of New York City, but I'm wondering if the other ones were the boroughs, but then there should be more than 5, I would think. Super sticker, $10 super chat from super sticker from Tiny 550. Look at that puppy. Look at that little paw. That is a very cute puppy. We like our dogs. Stumbleboots with a $5 super chat. Wow, did you get a raise this year, Stumbleboots? Thanks for the show, Larry. It's going to be a good year. You're cool too, my friend. And it is going to be a great year. We cannot wait. I'm glad we're all together for it. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Hey, what time is it? In 3 hours, kickoff for the Liberty Bowl, Navy versus Cincinnati. If you're a Bearcats fan, if you live in Cincinnati, I'm sorry, but the rest of the country is rooting for Navy football. It might be their first. No. They got 11 wins once before, but it's going to be a huge season. We need Navy to win that game. Go Navy. Beat everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll be back Monday at our regular time. Until then, my name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry.